How's it going, Jets fans? My name is Alex with my co-host here, Ryan Moran. If you are new to the Fireside Jets channel, make sure to subscribe below. Daily content videos. Today we're looking at CJ Uzomah, new tight end for this Jets team, kind of look at his contract, what he's bringing, his skill set, and how we can make an impact during the 2022 season and beyond. Interesting player, a big body, had a really good season with Cincinnati last year, played a big part in helping get them to the Super Bowl. He was injured during the playoffs, then he went and actually ended up playing in the Super Bowl, but he was definitely feeling the pain. So, I respect that grind. I respect that resiliency he showed. And that's really what great football players are made of, that ability to push through that pain, even when you really should not be playing. We saw it with Navarro Bowman a couple of years ago. Just this guy had a broken arm, was playing in the freaking championship game. So you see guys like that, and you got to respect it. Definitely people you want in the locker room, leading the charge. And obviously he's been to a Super Bowl, and this Jets team is very young, very fresh, and they need that veteran leadership and experience, and he's going to deliver that. Before we dive into CJ Uzomah, Ryan, how you do today, my friend?
I'm doing good, Alex. I appreciate it. So with CJ Uzomah, obviously, I think there was a mutual, expectation from the fans, and that the organization and Uzomah, something could come to fruition, and it wasn't necessarily too much of a surprise the first day of free agency. I think he initially generated a ton of excitement. You knew coming into this offseason that the Jets were going to overhaul that tight end position. I mean, this was a team in 2020 that was, one of the worst in NFL history, won 2 games. And Zach Wilson's rookie year, Joe Douglas just was not going to be able to address every position. And they upgraded receiver, running back on the offensive line. And just the tight end position last year was such a weakness. And, going into this offseason, you expected at least 2 new ones. And for Douglas to get a third was really, a complete overhaul. And you really can ask for just a better, way to execute throughout the offseason. And I think with Uzomah, you're seeing the guy coming off a career year, had for a 5th-round pick, 7 years with the Bengals, carved out a nice career for himself there. And last year, catches, yards, touchdowns, all career highs, and had a catch rate of nearly 78%. So, helps that team make a Super Bowl run. He's a guy who can, on the end of the line of scrimmage, help as a run and pass blocker. It was a point I heard Brian Baldinger make after the Jets signed him, to be able to play as much 11 personnel as the Bengals did last year. Obviously, you have Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, and Tyler Boyd. You want to run a lot of 3 receiver sets. You got to have a tight end who can block. So, initially right off the bat that Uzomah can provide just that for the offense. And then from there, just his own physical skill set. You're talking about a guy who's 6'5", 270. We were talking about the size that he has. You see a guy with 4.6 speed. He's pretty fast and adds a vertical dimension to the Jets passing attack, down the seam. And then after the catch, an important element of Michael LaFleur's offense from his skill position players. This guy's really the best, I think, out of the tight ends right now. I think Ruckert has upside, but as of now, just knowing the size, speed, play strength that Uzomah has, I think you're really going to see him in space, break some tackles, and, generate some explosives when he gets opportunities in the passing game for the Jets.
Yeah, look, let's take a look at CJ Uzomah's contract, give our reactions to that. Does it make sense? Does it add up? And it's a hefty one, right? The Jets gave him a 3-year, $24 million deal. He's counting $4.6 million against the cap this year, $9.6 next year. And then they have an out after 2023 when he's 31 years old, with $1.6 million dead cap. So not too bad, but they are giving him a lot of money. He is his dead cap hit is $15 million and then 10.3 next year. So the $10 million cap hit next year is pretty big, considering they also went and got Tyler Conklin. I don't necessarily think it was necessary. I think that Jeremy Ruckert and Conklin would have been a great 1-2 punch at tight end. Uzomah is like a really good blocker, and he's going to offer you a lot in that category. But I do think that contract is excessive. I'm not sure he's going to live up to this one, honestly. He's a good player. He's a leader. They're clearly a guy they wanted in the locker room. But I'll tell you what, if he doesn't end up making like a significant impact in the receiving game, the Jets are going to be like, ooh, it's crap. This maybe he's not going to live up to it. But at the end of the day, they had so much money. They had to go and get guys that were going to help Zach Wilson. And I think this is more about helping Zach Wilson and getting him some good security blankets underneath, like no Chris Herndons, even Ryan Griffin was okay, but he's not that great. CJ Uzomah is a better player. He is experienced, and 7 years in Cincinnati will do that to you. A lot of them probably very bad years, and then has a couple of good ones to end it there with Joey Burrow. So, what is your impression of this contract? Do you think that it's reasonable, or do you think maybe it was a little bit of an overpay?
I definitely thought at first, it was a little bit more than I'd maybe anticipated, especially knowing Tyler Conklin is who I think will lead the Jets in the passing game at the tight end position, and he obviously signed for less. But I think what you really touched up on there, as much as anything with Uzomah, is just that character, the leadership, the emotion, the toughness, all those intangibles that this guy provides, I think really probably boosted his value, along with the fact that, he was just on a Super Bowl run that was well documented and people took note of that. So I think those are really the few aspects that really drove his price up a little bit. And there were a couple of other tight ends. I think you look at like Ian Thomas, Will Disley. There were a couple of other like potential overpays, and that probably drove up his price as well.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, the fact that Evan Ingram got a $10 million deal from Jacksonville, they were just throwing cash at anybody. I mean, Christian Kirk got what is again paid 17, 18 million a year. I mean, whoever was in Jacksonville over there giving out contracts had just taken a huge hit of meth or something, because unreal the contracts they dished out, and expecting to get so much value out of them. I know they needed to get Trevor Lawrence some more talent around him, but like there were better options out there. I also like, who wants to go to Jacksonville unless they're paying? That's another argument to make. Like, I'd rather go to Las Vegas if I'm Devontae Adams than go to Jacksonville, where they have sucked for a long time. But CJ Uzomah. So let's look at his receiving stats really quickly before we dive into some of his film. Looking at the depth of his receptions, a lot of his targets, 78.8% of his targets came in the short portion of the field, 0 to 9 yards from the line of scrimmage. He had 51 receptions. So an 81 completion percentage there. Did have 4 drops, so did have some issues in that category. 7.3% of his targets ended up being drops. So that's not too bad, but definitely a lot left to be desired there. He did pick up 422 yards and 2 scores. Now, medium depth, 10 to 19 yards, 57% completion rate, 20% drop rate, 102 yards and 3 scores. What is your impression of him in terms of like where the Jets will likely utilize him in the receiving game?
For sure. That's a good question. I think obviously the 2 elements I spoke on before, the vertical dimension that this guy provides with his size and speed over the middle. I think he's a big target with good athletic ability and can run. So I think out of the 3 tight ends, he's the one you'll probably see getting the most downfield opportunities just with that 4.6 speed and size. And I also think underneath, which we're going to see in some of the clips with his yards after the catch ability, I think at times you just want to give Zach Wilson easy completions, have him get the ball out to these guys in space. And Uzomah can break tackles after the catch. So I really think you'll see Conklin probably over the middle, on the intermediate type of routes. And I think you'll see Ruckert really as that cross sifter, on some of those inside zone split runs. I think that's really where you're going to see him a lot. And Uzomah is the one I'm looking at really on the, short game, screens, that type of stuff, and also down the field as well.
Absolutely. So let's take a look at his film here. Fun player to watch. You'll see some good blocking. You'll see some ability at the break of his routes. Definitely impressive in some areas. A lot left to be desired in others, but ultimately I think that he is a very solid player. Let's jump into it. All right. So
he's right behind the right guard here.
Yeah. So he's behind the right guard here. You're going to see him in this formation where he's primarily going to fill that B gap, or rather even the A gap, honestly, right alongside that center. Obviously Cincinnati had a lot of trouble blocking last year at times in the season. And they needed their tight ends to get a little bit more involved, and CJ Uzomah does that very valiantly. You'll see him still up here. I mean, he's going up against a linebacker. So it's not like he's a primary pass rusher, but he handles the assignment very seamlessly. Might even be a safety, honestly. So, you're really looking at him taking on that blocker. There's guys trying to rush and get past him on there, and gets his hands on him and doesn't let him go. Good technique. I would say that, if you're asking him to take on inside linebackers inside, safeties at the line of scrimmage, he's going to do a pretty solid job of that. Although I would not trust him taking on an edge rusher by any means, maybe chipping, but, against those other defenders, I think that he would do a pretty solid job. And, you'll see that scattered throughout the clips.
For sure. You said it. Just sets a wide base there. Good hands. He's active. He's tough, physical. Head down. Hand placement pretty good.
Let's see a little play action. So you're going to see him. He's lined up on the right side, inline tight end. He's going to break.
It's like a delayed leak type of route.
Yep, exactly. Very nice. Little physicality. He's a big boy, right? What is he?
He's 6'5", 270.
270. Yeah, he's a big boy. He's gonna break some tackles for you, and he's a physical receiver too.
And shows some good speed here as well. I would say even
he does have pretty good speed. You'll see that. You'll see that later on for sure. Pretty nice break of his route.
Good hands.
Yep. He's coming across the line of scrimmage, little crosser. Bam. I love these concepts. I don't know why other teams don't run these so much more. The Jets are going to love this concept here with Conklin and Uzomah. This is just beautiful.
On those sales, 100%. That was what I meant before. I was saying like the short and underneath stuff, like these
Yeah,
type of routes,
absolutely.
where the quarterback's on the move.
Yep, this is what Kansas City does a lot, and they get a lot of production out of it. So hopefully, the Jets will also kind of follow a similar path. Let's see here. So right now he's actually kind of in this jumbo slot role, and okay, this is something that you love to see. And this is going to be one of probably the more underrated plays that we see from CJ Uzomah, because there's nothing I love more than when a play breaks down and your quarterback is on the move, your receiver, whoever it might be, puts in that extra effort to get open and make a play. This is what differentiates good from great players. This is what makes quarterbacks great, right? Their receivers, if the receivers are standing still and not moving and the quarterback opens up another opportunity, it doesn't matter. You know what I mean? Like the quarterback can be running everywhere. The receivers are standing still. It doesn't matter. Like that effort goes to waste. CJ Uzomah, watch what he does. He sits down right in the middle of the field, a little hook route. That's really where he makes a lot of his catches and receptions. But he says, oh crap. Okay. So, and watch, Burrow actually points him away from there. Right. So watch this. Burrow points him out. He goes, okay, I gotta get away from this linebacker sitting there at the second level, just waiting to pick this off. He's like, I got to get upfield. Burrow makes a play, lofts that perfect pass, and ends up a touchdown. That is what makes good players great. That is what you earn your money from. CJ Uzomah putting that extra effort, having the chemistry with Joe Burrow, making a play. This is great to see. This is what you want to see, that extra effort. And I think that the value you get from that, and that's the type of effort that's going to make that contract worthwhile, right? Like those type of plays. What is your impression of that?
For sure. And I think on this type of play, like Zach Wilson really has that same ability to improvise, extend plays out of the pocket, and to be able to find the open space, on a scramble drill like this, I think is, an important attribute to be able to have. Speaks to some of his smarts, just his understanding of coverages, and you see his ability after the catch once again.
Yeah, I mean, we saw Zach Wilson do it with Corey Davis last year, pointed him downfield. This is something that, Zach Wilson is more than capable of doing. I mean, I don't even want to get into, I was going to make a really funny joke, but maybe I will in a second. He can get into his mom's best friends too. Unbelievable. Crazy freaking news about Zach Wilson. Let's see here.
This was a really nice route. He ran, it was a corner to a post.
Beautiful. Watch the break here. Watch this separation. Bam. Look at that separation. He's against a
Marlon Humphrey.
Yeah, I mean, that's crazy. He's against one of the best corners in the NFL. Look at it. Isn't pushed off either. He literally just separates just on the break of this. Bam. I mean, he creates 5 yards of separation right there, and then he jukes Marlon Humphrey out of his shoes and scores. For a guy that's 6'5", 270, damn.
Oh yeah. When I saw that play, it was similar. Just knowing Michael Flores, obviously the Jets OC, when he was with the 49ers their Super Bowl year, I can remember George Kittle scoring on a very similar type of route against the Packers. Absolutely. So I definitely think you're going to see Uzomah get his fair share of opportunities to make big plays downfield like this with the speed, with the size. Good route here too, selling that corner to the post.
I mean, he's in man coverage against Marlon Humphrey, and he sauces him. That's crazy. That's that's probably the highlight of his season, honestly, against that level of talent.
And again, and the yards after the catch again here to break that tackle.
Yeah. Look, also, let's not I also want to point out Joey Burrow's unbelievable pocket management. I mean, watch what he does here. Play action, rolls out. There's a guy coming right to the outside. He uses the blockers in front of him, the two guys in front of him, steps, and then uses them as leverage to create time. Do you understand how smart of a quarterback you have to be to use these guys to block off? And he's still looking downfield. He's waiting for this route to develop, right? He knows where this is going to go. This play was always going to go to CJ Uzomah on this. He just needed to buy a little time, uses these guys, steps up in the pocket, and slings it. And barely even gets touched, man. That's absolutely just gorgeous quarterback play. And Zach Wilson has that same ability. It's just about the vision and able to use those angles to give himself a little bit more time. There he goes. Good. Like you said, good straight line speed.
Yep.
And here you got a little bit of red zone action. You always want to have a tight end who can sit down right at the goal line and just collect these passes. I mean, 100%. There's 3 guys around him. Use that big frame of his, shield it off, collect it, bam, get to the ground quickly, and put 2 hands on the football.
Quickly get set. And you see the emotion this guy plays with on like every play. I mean, I think that's the type of stuff with him that really goes a long way.
Absolutely. The offense loves this. That energy is contagious, you know? I mean, how many times have we seen Jets tight ends not catch this pass or not even get there? You know, there's a lot of value for this guy, man. I'll tell you what, like CJ Uzomah, a good player, obviously. I think it's just a matter of the scheme. Like he was the primary tight end for Cincinnati. I'm very curious to see how Mike LaFleur gets Conklin and Uzomah in this scheme operating both efficiently. It's possible. You don't necessarily see a lot of like high-end tight ends, like two tight ends on a team. And usually it's one tight end, and that's your primary guy. Your Dawson Knox, your Travis Kelce, your George Kittle. There are so many those singular weapons, but it's going to be interesting because Conklin and Uzomah, I would say, are probably like similarly talented. Like they're both capable in multiple areas. So I'm very curious to see how they get both of them involved and how they split those reps. But it should be fun, man. Like, what is your overall impression of Uzomah? Like, what he's going to bring to this team?
For sure. So I think on first and second down, you're really going to see a lot of both Conklin and Uzomah in two tight end sets. That's really a staple to Mike LaFleur's offense. Both these guys can run and pass block, which is a nice luxury to have. And I think when it goes to three receiver sets, you're probably going to see a little bit more of Conklin. I think he's a little bit more shorthanded with, his route running, creating separation. He's just got automatic hands. And I think Uzomah, like I said, a lot of it just had to do with intangibly what he's going to bring as a leader, just the emotion, the all-field character, all that type of stuff, to galvanize a young team. I mean, he was with the Bengals for a long time and, was a real respected leader in that locker room for a team that came from out of nowhere and makes a Super Bowl run last year. So I think a lot of it is just intangibly what he's going to bring. And when he gets his opportunities in the passing game, we're seeing here, obviously, he's got the ability to create 20, 30-yard gains. So I think Uzomah ultimately is going to be a good asset to the Jets offense.
I agree. It'll be fun, man. He's a good blocker too. So, that experience goes a long way. But guys, I'd love to hear your perspectives and opinions on CJ Uzomah below in the YouTube comments. Interesting player. Do you think that they overpaid him? Do you think that it was a fair contract? What are you expecting from these guys? You think Conklin or Uzomah will be the starter? A lot of questions to answer, and we will get those answers in the coming weeks when training camp really gets going. And we see preseason, how they're really splitting them up. But really cool guy. Definitely has the experience and a lot of value to offer this offense if utilized properly. But as always, make sure to like and subscribe below, my friends. Really appreciate all the love recently. The subscriptions mean a lot to us. Daily content, got you guys covered with all the new info and latest updates, and a lot more great stuff to come as we build this community. So thank you for that. And we'll catch you guys on the next Fireside Jets episode.